Welcome to the All Out Leadership Podcast, hosted by Pastor Eric Lawson, where each episode is uniquely designed to help you live all out by bringing you practical leadership from a biblical perspective delivered in 10 minutes or less. So whether you're a business leader, serving in ministry, or simply looking to grow in your leadership, this podcast is for you. Before we dive into this week's topic, make sure to subscribe to the podcast and download the show notes at ericlawson.com/podcast. And while you're at it, feel free to share the content on social media. Now, let's join Pastor Eric for this week's conversation.
Welcome to the All Out Leadership Podcast. We're continuing on time. Last week, we talked about the importance of defining the end zone, having a clearly defined goal. But we got to take that a step further. It's not enough to have a goal. We need to take that goal and we need to move it forward and we need to put it in writing. Habakkuk 2:2 says, "Then the Lord answered me and said, write the vision, make it plain on tablets, that he may run who reads it." So we need to take the goal that we have inside of our heart, inside of our mind, and we need to move it and put it in print. We need to put it in writing. So many people have mentioned that if we don't take it from the dream to put it on paper, then the dream ultimately just ends up becoming a nightmare. And that's all it ever remains, is just a dream. Only 5%, I read once, have goals, and only 3% have them in writing. So if you want to just jump to the top 5%, get a goal. You want to be in the top 3%, write it down. Success is a whole lot easier than it actually seems. Get a goal, write it down. And then if you start working on it, man, you are ahead of the pack. J.C. Penney, the founder of the, I believe, late J.C. Penney's stores, gave me a stock clerk with a goal, and I'll give you a man that will make history. Give me a man without a goal, and I'll give you a stock clerk. Oh, that's so good, though, because he's saying, look, it's not the position that defines the man. It's the man with a goal that determines whether or not he'll stay in that particular position. Time magazine years ago once did an article on a man named John Goddard. John Goddard, when he was 15 years of age, had heard his grandmother one time say, "I wish I would have done that when I was younger." And how many people have you heard say that? Now, maybe you've said that. I think I've said that. And he thought to himself, I'm never going to get to the end of my life and use those words, "I wish I would have." So he got out a sheet of paper, went to the kitchen table, and he wrote down 127 goals, 127 things he wanted to do with his life. Now, these weren't little things like, I want to graduate first grade. I want to get to second, third grade. Like, these were big things. He put 17 mountains that he wanted to climb, and these weren't like little mountains. These were all big mountains. 10 rivers to explore. He wanted to become an Eagle Scout, get a pilot's license, ride a horse in the Rose Bowl parade. He wanted to be able to go underwater and dive in a submarine, retrace the travels of Marco Polo, read the Bible cover to cover, read the entire Encyclopedia of Britannica, read the entire works of Shakespeare, not sure why, Charles Dickens, Plato, and others. Wanted to get married, have children. By the way, he ended up getting married and having 5. Pursue a career in medicine, serve as a missionary for his church. I like this guy. And accomplish 100. And so here's what's interesting. He had 127 very audacious goals. BHAGs is a term that you'll hear sometimes. Big, hairy, audacious goals. Well, he had big, hairy, audacious goals, and he achieved 109 of the 127 goals he set out for his life. He achieved more than most people ever dream of. Why? Because he had dreams, put it on paper, and then he began to work his plan. Jesus knew his mission. He had a clearly defined written mission statement for his life. Goals. Luke 4:18. "The Spirit of the Lord is upon me, because he's anointed me to preach the gospel to the poor, set me to heal the brokenhearted, to proclaim liberty to the captives, recovery of sight to the blind, to set at liberty those who are oppressed, to proclaim the acceptable year of the Lord." He knew his end zone. So when it was all said and done, he could say, it is finished. Most people can never say it's finished because they didn't know what it was they were supposed to start. And so take time, seek God, get on your face, get alone, turn off the noise, turn off the TV, and begin to spend time and just go, God, what is it I'm here on this planet to do? You've given me gifts. You've given me this time. What am I supposed to do to become the best version of who you created me to be? Now, when you're writing your goals, a couple practical things. One, you want to put them in writing. Number two, you want to give yourself some type of deadline. There's a principle in life called the law of expanding time, and it means this: whatever amount of time you allow for a project, that's how much time it'll take to get done. A parent who goes to their kid, clean your room. Well, how much time is that going to take? Probably till they graduate high school, right? Because there was no time attached to it. Now, it's 10 o'clock in the morning. Hey, honey, clean your room. And you can't have lunch till you clean your room. Well, that kid gets hungry. It's interesting. They're going to clean their room. What would have taken 5 years now takes 5 minutes because there was a deadline and a consequence if they missed that deadline attached to it. We see God doing this inside of Scripture. God told Noah, hey, I want you to build the ark. Well, how long is it going to take to build an ark? Now, we know Noah's a man. Men love to procrastinate. Now, if Noah was left without a deadline to build the ark, reality is he'd probably still be building the ark today, thousands of years later, because he's a man, right? Let's be honest, man. We love to procrastinate. So God gave him a deadline. Well, what was it? Well, Noah had a grandfather named Methuselah. Methuselah's name, when he is dead, it shall come. It's interesting when you study the genealogy and the timeline, the exact year that Methuselah died is the exact same year that the flood came. So Noah's watching grandpa. His rocking chair ain't moving quite as fast as it used to on the porch. He's like, okay, boys, we're going into overtime because when grandpa's dead, it's coming. And so sure enough, there was a time attached to Noah getting that ark built. Number 3, you got to keep it visible. That's what we saw in Habakkuk, that those who see it may run who read it. So you have to keep your vision visible. What you keep visible, people keep valuable. Inside of my office, I have our mission statement up above our calendar, and I can see it. Our team sees it when we're in planning. I even have a Habakkuk 2:2, write the vision and make it plain. I have that up on my wall. Underneath that, we have a project board where all my senior executives or my executive team are working on particular projects. We keep it visible. I have our values visible. They're all up here in these cute, beautiful little squares with, E for everyone. Everyone matters to God. Everyone matters to us. It's all here. Why? It's in front of us every single time we're in here planning because it keeps us on task, on time, on target as to what truly matters. What you keep visible, you will keep valuable. Put it on the refrigerator. If your goal is to lose weight, put it on the refrigerator door, lose 10 pounds. Because every time you go to open that door, you're going to see that and be reminded, probably don't need to snack on that right now. And then review them often. On Elements team here, we use goals, but we use a little bit of a different format. We use OKRs, and that's objective by key results. And it's really measuring more outcome than just a goal. So what we're really targeting is what's the output, what's the outcome that we want, and then we create the goals that get to that outcome, that produce that. Not going to go into that now, but that's what we use here at Element. So as you're onboarding into our culture, our team, you're going to hear the word OKRs a lot. You're going to be in OKR meetings because it really is goal setting. It's just a little bit of a modernized, upgraded version. And we found it to be very effective and we enjoy it. So it builds great collaboration. The way we do it, it helps break down silos of communication, really brings us together. So we're really all working in unison, going in the same direction. And so we use OKRs. All right. Hopefully that was helpful as you're looking to create goals, put them in writing and keep them visible and give some deadlines and review it often. See you next week.
Thank you for joining us on the All Out Leadership Podcast. We hope you gained new biblical insight that challenged you to grow in your leadership. If you've enjoyed this week's episode, we would love your help in getting the content out farther. You can help by subscribing to the podcast at ericlawson.com/podcast and telling others about it. Next week, Pastor Eric will be back with another episode. So until then, we hope you have a great week being an all-out leader.